welcome to the first of our Women in Business series. As women, we are capable of accomplishing so much, and every day we continue to build communities, run countries, work in various occupations, hold an array of title, and raise generation of children. We are capable of fighting for equality and fairness while standing against discrimination and violence. Today, we are celebrating all the strong, successful women in our society who make a difference every day and will not let anyone tell them they cannot do it. Without further ado, I would like to introduce to you our first panel of women leader, Una and Gillian. Can you please introduce yourself to our listeners and let them know who you are? And we'll start with you, Una.
Oh, sure. Thank you. Thank you, Hagir. I'm so happy to be here today and speaking with a group to really empower women. My name is Una Martone. I'm the president and CEO of Leadership Harrisburg area. I've been in my position for 15 years, but my experience empowering women and being an empowered woman really comes from my childhood. I grew up with 5 sisters and 1 brother. He was the oldest and I'm the youngest. So being surrounded by my sisters and growing up with an amazing tribe from birth has really been a source of strength and support for me in everything I do. So I'm happy to be here, happy to share some stories and answer any questions as well. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Let's go, Gillian.
Hi, yes, I'm Gillian Byerly, and I am the Executive Director of Girls on the Run Capital Area. And our organization has a national presence in all 50 states, and we really envision a world where every girl knows and activates her limitless potential and is free to boldly pursue her dreams. And I really sort of resonated with that mission and message. I'm actually an only child. And I was the first generation in my family to go to college. And I've always felt like a little bit of a misfit. I went to boarding school and then in college as well, and always sort of was trying to find where I fit until I sort of liberated myself of those expectations and realized that it's okay to be exactly who I am and to really sort of grow into that role for myself. I'm originally from England and I moved to the US in 2006. And I have a daughter and a son who are 12 and 10. And I have been at Girls on the Run now since 2014.
Welcome. And I am honored to have both of you, and having so many amazing, strong women in our area will always become a positive influence in our young women's and you know, I followed you, like I said earlier. I read about you, and I would love for everyone to know a little bit more about what you do. You know, why did you start your business? Let's just start with that, and then we will dive into more details. Let's start with you, Una.
Sure. It's interesting that both of your guests on this first panel are representing nonprofit organizations. And I think it's a real true testament to the value of nonprofit organizations in our society as a whole. As nonprofit leaders, Gillian and I are both responsible for everything, all of the same things that our counterparts in corporations or in academia are responsible for, but we have to raise the money to do what we do. And so it's really an interesting, I think, start to this conversation about empowering women. At Leadership Harrisburg area, I didn't start the business, just to make that clear. This organization was started in 1986. And it was born out of a need to develop more community leaders. So the area, Central Pennsylvania, Cumberland, Dauphin, Perry County, the city of Harrisburg, all of these places were experiencing a shortage of leaders to go out and serve on nonprofit boards of directors.
Mm-hmm.
And they were finding that the same small group of volunteers were doing the same thing for different organizations, and said, we need more leaders in this community. So Leadership Harrisburg area was created really for the purpose of developing more leaders. Mm-hmm. Since 1986, when we started, we have over 1,500 graduates of our programs. We have programs that require regular attendance. We have one program is 100 hours long. It spans 9 months. It's called the Community Leadership Series. Gillian, in fact, was in that program several years ago. So we work with cohorts of people and show them the community, experience the community with them, and then give them the tools, the resources, and support for them to go out and be leaders in the community. Our belief at Leadership Harrisburg area is that you cannot be a leader in your community unless you know your community and understand your community. We encourage all of the graduates of Leadership Harrisburg area to be part of the solution. So I could talk the whole time about our programs, but I would just encourage anyone who's interested to look up our website, Leadership Harrisburg area, look up our social media, and really learn more about the programs that we have to offer, because we are really striving to support leadership in our community. And women who want to be leaders and who are not finding leadership opportunities within their companies or within their organizations, they should turn to the nonprofit community and volunteer. Because as a volunteer, you can be side by side with seasoned corporate leaders who have, decades of experience, who might be people in positions to hire you. But when you're serving in a nonprofit capacity on a board of directors or as a volunteer, you can be in the same circles as the most seasoned leaders in this community, and that creates opportunities and opens up opportunities. So any leader who is not finding those opportunities at work, turn to the nonprofit community and turn to things that you're passionate about. If you're passionate about animal rescue, turn to that. If you're passionate about racial justice, turn to that. Or like Gillian's organization, empowering young girls, turn to those things that you're passionate about.
And thank you for saying that. I already posted a link to both of your websites, and I'm going to post that at the end of this video. But for all our listeners now, go read about those amazing organization, and find how they can help you help your society and help yourself at the same time. And we will go and talk more about leadership and how we can help women in our community and expand to all 50 states. But Gillian, Girls on the Run. I mean, this is just a powerful name as it is. And I am really glad that, there is someone out there who's doing something as important as what you do. So talk to us about Girls on the Run and how did that start?
Yeah, sure. So actually, Girls on the Run was founded in 1996 in Charlotte, North Carolina by a woman called Molly Barker. She is a social worker, a teacher, and a triathlete. She actually completed 3 Ironman triathletes, and she sort of put all of that background together. She had low self-esteem as a young girl, and experimented, I should say, with alcohol, and that led to an addiction. Mm-hmm. And I think she found that it was all sort of tied together to the fact that she did not feel empowered. She did not have a model of leadership maybe in her life, and she wanted to. She found her power and her purpose through running. Mm-hmm. And the sort of mental and physical benefits of running. And so she really put together this program to sort of weave her background together and create something that would give girls a safe space, a brave space, to discover who they truly are and really sort of bloom in an environment that was supportive and that had an adult role model in charge that they could really connect to. And that was sort of the purpose of Girls on the Run. And it's important because, you know, there's a lot of research on this, but by age 6, girls are already starting to identify boys as being smarter than they are. By age 7, girls stop believing that they can do big things like become president. Parents, I think, feed into this as well, because they're twice as likely to Google, is my son gifted, than is my daughter gifted.
Yeah.
And the sort of, there's a lot of messaging that girls internalize from a really young age, and it is restrictive on their expectations of themselves. And Girls on the Run is really sort of designed to help them deconstruct some of that negative messaging. So how we do that is we have after-school programming at school and community-based sites throughout our territory. Girls on the Run Capital Area is one of a network of about 200, just over 200 Girls on the Run councils, and we're in every state. So we have these 8 to 10 week after-school programs that are small groups of girls that meet twice a week for 90 minutes and are guided in conversation and dynamic running games and activities by trained adult mentors or coaches. And we integrate running in a creative way. But essentially what we're trying to do is build a really robust toolkit for these girls, a toolkit that gives them equips them to manage their emotions, label and process emotions, deal with peer pressure, establish boundaries, develop conflict, resolve conflict in a healthy way, and develop confidence. And for them to become really intentional in decisions that they make that are going to impact their life. So when they complete this program, they are connected to their community by completing a community impact project. They have a framework for setting and accomplishing goals, because at the end they also complete a 5K running event. And they have this ability to set high yet realistic expectations for themselves and go out and accomplish really big things.
So basically working on the body and the mind.
Exactly.
And if I can put it in a simple way, you, Gillian, start help raising and shaping our young women, and then Una catch them when they're a little bit older and help them become young leaders in a society as well. So all our work tied up together, it's like basically fits starting from the beginning. And I like to
it's like we're building a ladder, Hagir. I mean, we get the girls on the ladder, the first couple of rungs, and it's really important that they have that ladder that they can see and have access to for them to keep, progressing and improving as they get older. Yeah.
And unfortunately, like you said, from a young age, if they don't have a good role model, this could really affect the way they perceive themselves, the way they think, if they're worthy, and it will affect, of course, their future, their choices, and it's I know it's a big topic, but you nailed it by saying that we need to start early, and some kids don't have the role model at home. That's why having Una, all the amazing leaders that are here in our society, showing up, going to events, and trying to present or represent and show the young girls that, women can be successful in many things, not just one thing. And this is a very, very powerful message. And as we all know, this is a man's world. and I'm not going to stop saying that. But for you both to get to the point you're at, I'm sure you face many struggles and obstacles. Would you like to share some of them to our young listeners?
I'll certainly I'll share an obstacle, but I first, if I could go back to
Go for it.
really talking about how Girls on the Run is such a outstanding tool and resource for young girls. But there are times in life when the girls are a little bit older, especially in high school and in college, when they get lost. And if they don't have the structure from something like Girls on the Run, then those high school and college years can be their most volatile years. And that's when all of us can step in as mentors.
Yeah.
And we can step in not just as role models, Hagir, in a casual sense, but in a intentional sense. If you have a daughter like I do, my daughter is 21 years old now. And when she was in high school and her first 2 years of college, she had a really tough time. And there were many, many young girls sitting around my table, struggling and didn't have anyone else to listen. And I found a way to remove judgment from the equation and to just listen to these girls and offer some advice if I could. Not all of them took my advice, but I was able to listen without judgment, and they still come back to sit around my table. And having a daughter in this day and age is really, really difficult. Young people who are in those high school and college years are going through probably more. I don't want to make any assumptions. They're going through more than I went through, but they're going through a lot more than people who are 30 or older in the United States. So when we can be intentional about mentoring and in those high school years, getting our children involved in junior leadership programs, junior achievement, and even Big Brothers, Big Sisters, and other things that can help fill the gap from when they're a young girl to those really, really difficult high school and college years. I just wanted to throw that in.
And I'd love to add something to that. I totally agree, Una. And, there is a Duke University study that shows that the pressure on college girls is so intense because they are under pressure to be perfect in every way. They have to have high academics. They have to be athletic. They have to be fashionable. They have to have perfect skin. They have to be social. They have to overperform in every single area. And the pressure actually has a really damaging effect on their self-esteem. And college girls' self-esteem actually does decrease. And college is a place where you think these young people are finding out who they truly are. And that should be when their confidence is flourishing and blooming and they're finding their people and making those really important lifelong connections. But actually for college-age women, it's not like that. They are really struggling. And having a mentor-like relationship outside of the home has been shown, girls who have a mentor outside of the home are less likely to experience anxiety and depression. And they already are prone to experience anxiety and depression at 3 times the rate of boys. So exactly that. It's really important to find an adult mentor, and not necessarily someone who has all the solutions, but as Una said, a safe place where they can talk about some of the things that are on their mind and really have a safe place to do that.
Absolutely correct. I have 2 girls, so I know you said raising a kid, and I truly understand, and I'm sure a lot of our audience can relate to this. And it, like you said, it's not just, showing up and being a role model as, in a picture or on TV, but actually doing something about it, and listening to our young. And if you can do it at home, and we know sometimes people have, one parent, so being a single parent, or have no parent around, they are looking for someone to fill that gap. And if we don't come and help with that, they might fall into the wrong hand. And like
Yeah.
Gillian said, there is a lot of pressure in just, and it's not just for young. I mean, my daughter, your girls are, and boys, it's for us adults. You feel like you always, as a woman, have to compete. You have to work as hard, like twice as harder, to me 5 times harder than a man who will be able to achieve the same result as you after you try 6 times. So us together working and trying to fill that gap, trying to educate people, raise awareness about the obstacles that we face as women, and how can we overcome. And just like you said, by listening, sharing your story, sharing the success and the failure, and showing people how they can get to from point A to point B. And even if they don't listen, Una, or you feel like, oh, one listen, I'm sure it's there somewhere in their mind, and they will remember one day when they're in the most need for an advice. They will remember, oh, I remember that lady. They might not remember my name or your name, but they will remember something that you said, and it stick to them. And especially when it comes from the heart. And both of you are sincere. I don't know you personally, but I can tell. I will love to, if I'm a young person, I will sit and listen to you. You have this demeanor and welcoming, and that's very important, don't you guys think?
It is, absolutely. And no judgment is the key, because as soon as you even make a facial expression that might indicate judgment, they're going to shut down, and you won't be able to help. So I've kind of trained my face to work with me on remaining impartial and just trying to listen. But you had asked about challenges, and I could sit here and list off some challenges that I face, but I've experienced privileges in my life. I am also a first generation American. My parents emigrated here from Ireland. We didn't have a lot of financial resources, and there were 7 kids and 2 parents. So the money had to be spread out. But I know I've had a lot of privileges in this country. So I don't want to really get too focused on challenges. I want to focus on solutions if I could.
Oh, yeah.
Because I can tell you the solution to just about everything has been persistence and hard work. And I remember a phrase that my father used to always say is, the only place success comes before work is in the dictionary. And it just goes to show you that hard work is expected. And like you said, we have to work even harder. We have to work smarter. And it's not that we might have to try something 5 or 6 times. It's that we're balancing 5 or 6 different things at the same time, as somebody who is our male counterpart might not be balancing as many things that we're balancing. So, the images where you see a duck just gliding across the pond, you don't see underneath how rapidly their webbed feet are paddling. And I feel like that's such a accurate description of female leadership. We might look like we're smoothly sailing, and someone might look at me and say, oh, she has a successful position, she has a successful title. I can tell you, I've worked my butt off and balanced 6 and 7 different things at a time, just to manage, just to manage. And I've had a lot of people give me opportunities, and I've had a lot of privileges. I don't want to I don't want to say that I haven't had help along the way, but any time there's been a barrier, persistence and hard work, and my persistence is to such a degree that some people would call it tenacity. Some other people might call it a B word that is not flattering to women. I don't think you have to be that word to get forward in life. I think you can be nice and kind and still be assertive and still state what you want and be unapologetic. Women will say, I'm sorry, but.
Yeah.
And we have to eliminate that from our vocabulary. We just have to eliminate it. You never hear any men starting a sentence with, I'm sorry, but. You hear women saying that, and we have to eliminate it from our vocabulary. We can state our opinions. We can be kind. We can be nice and still be assertive. And in fact, we will get much farther by having manners and being nice and saying please and thank you, and we'll get much farther with those things than the other way, which is the B word that some women, even women, use that word about each other. And what we need to do is tell our friends and our sisters and say, you don't have to be like that. I will still take you seriously, even when you're nice, and you can still get ahead even when you're nice.
But I think this is, if you allow me to just interrupt you here, I think looking and receiving women, strong women who are putting their opinion and getting the job done as the B, you don't have to be mean, but other people look and expect you to, like what Gillian said earlier, and you just mentioned, they expect you to say, okay, and just do whatever asked from you. If you stop and be assertive, then you are perceived as the B word. It's not necessarily you wake up in the morning and say, okay, I'm going to be a B word, and that's how I'm going to get into life. But that's another wrong assumption or a title that the society and some closed-minded people give to women who are showing some kind of power or showing that they are comfortable with who they are. And like you said, not apologetic. You never apologize for your success, never apologize for doing what's right for you. And I think that's mistaken, if you agree with me. But you can go ahead and finish. I apologize for interrupting.
I think I was just at the point of wrapping that up. I have seen kindness and assertiveness married and matched in such a way that it can serve women well. I will tell you that it's an art form. And it takes a long time, I think, to practice, just because, like what you're saying, other people will make judgments on you.
Yeah.
And I do think that it takes time, and it takes a thick skin. It takes the ability to rise above it and not let it bother you. And I think the path to leadership requires so much mental and emotional strength, in addition to skills and, in addition to the other things that you would traditionally think about for success.
Yeah, I would agree. I think, some women in power can be perceived as a threat to men as well. And I think it's really important that we find men who support us as young women leaders. And I think the definition of feminism has evolved as well. It used to have such a negative connotation, and now I feel like women have reclaimed that definition of feminism and are sort of better at owning it. And, exactly, girls who were assertive, even young girls, we go back to young girls again, but, being a boy would be assertive or a leader as a kid, but a girl is going to be called bossy or something like that. So, it's just a different standard. And I think that it's evolving happily. But, I think for women, especially, we find power in our connectedness, and social support is really important. And it helps us cope with adversity. It helps us in our journey. And I do think that, again, there is a misconception of the sort of mean girl if you go back to high school and you think about that. And I do think, yes, there are incidences of relational aggression at high school between girls and things, but peer relationships are central to a young girl's emotional well-being, and I don't think that changes as we grow up and we evolve. And I think it's also really important to remember that we have to lift each other up instead of competing with each other. And I think that creates an environment. I learned this from Una, but a rising tide lifts all ships.
Yeah.
And we have to be intentional in lifting each other up and celebrating our successes, and not feel threatened by someone else's success, and not feel like our own success is diminished because of their success. All success is success, and we do, like I said, we thrive on the support and we thrive on relationships, and that social interaction is really important for women, especially. I mean, for me personally, I think my own personal definition of leadership has changed, and I think that was sort of formed by who I reported to in my job world before. You sort of emulate the person that is closest to you, and that might be a great and authentic style of leadership for that person, but it isn't necessarily going to feel authentic or genuine for you. So I think one of my challenges was, reporting to a really strong leader in my previous job and trying to mirror that style of leadership. And it didn't suit me. It didn't fit me. It didn't feel authentic. And I had to sort of go through a process of deconstructing what leadership was for me, and also the kind of matching it to my organization as well. I mean, I feel like I'm in the right place, in the right organization. I feel like I have passion and purpose for the organization and the work that I do. And I had to find a leadership style that matched that as well. And so one of the core values of Girls on the Run is to lead with an open heart. And that means being really vulnerable. And that took a while to learn as well. And thankfully, we have women researching vulnerability like Brene Brown and producing books that are really powerful and have really positive messaging. And so learning, okay, I can be a leader, I can still be me, I can still be authentic, and I can be vulnerable as well. That was quite a different approach from the very sort of traditional leadership box that I had sort of believed in before.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad you're being the authentic leader for Girls on the Run, because you are in a great spot where your purpose and your passion are so clear. And I think what you're describing is so true. We have to be our authentic selves to lead. But for any young people listening on the call and watching, you don't have to have a title to be a leader, and you don't have to have a huge audience or a huge platform.
Mm-hmm.
If one person is influenced or inspired by you, And if you are helping to develop one person, you are a leader, to that person. And so as young women are, learning and growing, if they can, simply inspire, starting from a very concentric circle and then building out, they will find themselves rising in leadership over time. And being authentic, being true to your word, being honest, being real with people, those are all things that feed into really, really positive leadership and just inspiring the next person. That's what it's really about.
Mm-hmm. And being accessible as well, being aware of that there are women, young women, maybe working their way up, and just making sure they can see you. I mean, there's that other famous quote, "She can't be it if she can't see it."
Yeah.
And so we have to be visible, and we have to be accessible. We have to create a space where younger women and future leaders are comfortable coming to us and having conversations, and we're comfortable sharing our time in that sort of mentorship role, or just as a friend but an informal mentor, if you like. But we definitely have to be intentional about creating that space.
And like you said, and can you hear me?
Just a little feedback.
Oh, I'm sorry. I said passing the light, or, I heard the quote before, sending the elevator down, or, I mean, I don't like that term, but it's basically all, I think it's just a wrong term for building each other up.
Yeah.
And like both of you, you have an experience in life and you succeeded. You became to me, I think, a very good role model to all young women around, for them to see you and be able to get in touch with you and hear you talk now. It gives hope, and it definitely, will give hope to a lot of young women that you don't have to be in a specific societal box to become successful. You can be yourself and you can lead. And one of the issue, I think, as parents, we all do, is we raise our boys separate, differently than raising our girls. We have the double standard to begin with. And I made that mistake too when I was young. When our girls start to learn about themselves and they start to express and show, they're not because they like the style, but just to become unique. We as parents start to intervene and tell them, you can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
I hope, I learned from that lesson young, like early when my kids were very young. I had to stop myself and check myself and say, I was that strong young girl at that day. And if my parent treated me this way, I would have become a different person. And do I want to do that to my girls? Or so you kind of have to check yourself, even if you think you know it, all, and you're doing good. Sometimes we do make mistakes unintentionally that hurt our girls or the girls around us.
Yeah, and I think that's part of being a human. And it's really important that we own those mistakes, and that people, our children, people we work with, see us taking responsibility for those mistakes. And that, again, just creating that environment where people are comfortable making mistakes, because ultimately that's how we learn and grow. Mm-hmm. So, not making it a fearful place where a mistake results in, okay, that's it, you're fired. Yeah. But a place where, okay, this happened, let's talk about how we might do that differently next time, with the benefit of hindsight, and how we might approach it in a more positive way. So being able to have those difficult conversations and just creating a space for leaders who are learning still to be able to sort of stumble and recover, and you're there to help them recover. I think that's really important as well.
And I would label that, I would tag that as humility. If as leaders, if we are humble enough to have an environment where mistakes are learning experiences and not mistakes, and speaking about raising our girls and maybe doing things differently, looking back, with our children, we have to be humble as well, and we have to hear them and learn from them and say, I'm sorry I did that, or maybe that wasn't the best approach. I'm sorry, and let our children and people that we work with, and maybe people who are on our teams, let them hear those words from us, that I'm sorry, I didn't mean for it to happen that way, or I'm sorry I didn't come ask for your input or your opinion, or I didn't know that at the time. Thank you for helping me understand that now. I think that dose of humility is so important in our ongoing leadership. And it's okay. It's okay to be humble. And, speaking about the failures and making mistakes and creating an environment where it's okay to make mistakes.
Yeah.
I'd also like to add that we need to be okay with our own mistakes, because sometimes we are the hardest on ourselves. We made a mistake and then we're beating ourselves up for it all night long or all day long. We can't sleep at night because we're replaying the situation over and over in our minds. And we're human too. And we make mistakes. And if you are authentic and you can be sorry for that mistake, you have to allow yourself to be sorry to yourself. We might apologize to other people and we fix everything. We have to be able to let it go and learn from it, decide what we would do differently, and then move on.
That's an amazing way of putting it. Me and Gillian are both silenced, because I'm sure.
No, I totally agree.
I'm guilty of this myself, and I know a lot of women out there who are. And it's good. It's good to critique yourself, but like you said, Una, we can't be the hardest. Like, we can't beat ourselves over and over and over. And I do that a lot. And it took me a while to start, like, kind of ground yourself. Try to ground yourself and say, you know what, that negative energy that I'm putting towards, thinking about what would have been the right move, I can use that to do something else. And that's not just with us beating ourselves, but even with all the decision, the big or small decision that we make in our life. It's okay to think about it and to learn from it, but not to use it as, I'm a failure because I failed this. And some of us, and I'm one of them, we seem to bile or our failure and use it as a step stool, instead of us going up and moving forward, to just keep looking at it, keep adding to the saying, oh, I failed this and that and that. And a lot of people listening to us now might relate to what you're saying and really benefit from grounding yourself.
Yeah, I think women have a tendency, again, research shows us that to send themselves really negative messages, multiple hundreds, thousands of times a day. I'm not this enough. But how many times do we say, oh, I'm so stupid? Like, why didn't I think of that? Why are we telling ourselves that? No, forgetting the keys on the table is a result of our, as you said earlier, juggling full-time responsibilities as a mom, full-time responsibilities as someone who works, as a sibling, as a wife, as a mother, all of these competing priorities. So making mistakes is going to happen, and sending ourselves these negative messages about we don't measure up, we're not good enough, is never going to be productive. So it's really important that we switch that narrative and empower ourselves. And again, it's important to just change that messaging. And I think that we also maybe have a tendency to set really high goals, but it's important that we make sure they're realistic as well. There is a balance, and you can set high yet realistic goals. And, you know, I think we learn that from our social connections and from the people we work with and from the leaders we report to as well. And so as leaders, it's important that we model that behavior as well. Again, goes back to being able to make mistakes, being able to own those mistakes, being able to, again, set more realistic goals for the people who report to you and for the organization or the company as a whole, and work together and support each other in the pursuit and accomplishment of those goals.
And not allowing societal expectation or a high standard of from women, like you said, you're expected to have the best hair every day. You expect to have the best attitude every day, and to be the best mom, and you know, the best worker and best housewife, and all of the above. This is all many hats that could affect your productivity. And it, you know, a lot of people don't put it in like calculating it with everything you do and say, okay, you know, she did not do 100% of this because she is a single mother dealing with a lot of kids at home, having to do with their school and everything else, and she's doing her best. So us remembering to give ourselves a break,
yes,
also is very important. And for you and Una as higher, like have a higher job that you're dealing with people could be working under you or alongside you. I'm sure you treat them the same way. You're giving praises when they do something good, and you try to understand when they fail. And for everyone out there, you know, don't feel intimidated. Come and talk. Like if you see Gillian or Una, come and talk to them. If they're your bosses, they're not there to just give you, you know, they're just telling you what to do. They're there to guide you, and they will be happy to sit down with you and show you the right way or how they can help you to become the better person that you want to be. What
I think
go ahead.
If we lighten up on ourselves a little bit, and if we have a little bit of humor, I think it would go a long way in our peace of mind. I think that, you know, because we are harder on ourselves than the people who might report to us and the people who might work alongside us. So if we lighten up on ourselves, have a little bit of humor. I had to run back into my house 3 times this morning because I couldn't find my cell phone. Went back to the car, went back in, went back to the car, went back in 3 times, and it was sitting beside my bed. And I just thought, okay, I found it. Let's get on with this day. So a little bit of humor goes a long, long way.
Perfect. What advice do we want to give to any young women that are listening to us now, who are just starting and don't know what to do and how to beat the odds? If we just put it this way.
Who wants to go first on that?
I'll go first. I mean, I think that it's really important, first of all, for young women to accept themselves for who they truly are, to celebrate who they truly are, and to be authentic to themselves at all times. I think we evolve as people. That's natural and everything, but there is a core to us that should be celebrated, and finding out what that is and who we truly are is definitely a process. But I do think that especially younger women do have a tendency to sort of morph into who they think they should be. They're putting on an act because they want to fit in, or they want to, you know, put on, they want to be this successful person. But truly the quickest way to do that is to discover who you actually are and to celebrate it. And then I think find people who support you exactly as you are, who are going to be there for you, who will be honest with you. You don't need anyone who's going to just nod their head and tell you that you're right all the time. Mm-hmm. You have to be willing to accept where you can grow, and you have to be willing to hear that, and you have to be able to use it as positive fuel for yourself as well. So relationships, I think, are critically important. Whenever you have an opportunity, make a relationship, and an authentic relationship, because those are going to see you through. Those are going to open doors. They're going to be important mentors. They're going to see you through adversity. They're going to remind you what you're capable of when you're maybe doubting that at any time. They are going to lift you up and propel you forward when you need it the most. And so I would say seek people who are going to support you is really important as well.
Una.
That was great. That's hard for me to follow. So, I would say to young women living in this time when everything you do or say is being put out there for the public eye on Instagram, on social media, on TikTok, and I would say manage your content. Yeah. Manage what you put out there, because it doesn't go away ever. It can always be found. It can really come back and do damage to your future if you're not managing it now. And managing it, I think, also is, not only putting up positive things, not tearing other people down on social media. Of course, different social medias are for fun. It doesn't always have to be the most, it doesn't always have to be about a professional setting, but just realize that future employers will look you up and will find as much content as they can about you. So manage the content that you're putting out into the world. My advice on that content is that it always stays positive. And positivity is such a refreshing characteristic that everybody wants to be around the positive person. Everybody wants to be around the person who lifts them up and makes them feel better. Negativity can breed. We've all seen negativity and gossip breed, but so can positivity. And so I would say to young women, be positive, be optimistic, always monitor that voice in your head and lean it towards the glass is half full mentality. Train your mind to do that through gratitude and practice, and manage everything you're putting out on social media, because it is speaking volumes about you. Even if it's just a picture or even if it's just a comment, it's speaking to the world about who you are, and you need to manage that.
Absolutely, Una. And I would also say, don't let fear or doubt hold you back. I think we have a tendency to be like, I'm not sure I'm quite qualified to apply for that job. And a man would never question his qualifications. Right. I had a situation where someone reached out to me and thought that they knew someone who would be great for this job. And I said, fantastic. They told me a little bit about them. I said, they sound wonderful. Have them apply for the position. And a couple of weeks went by and I hadn't received the application. So I reached back out to them and I said, what happened? I haven't received anything. And they said, oh, well, they looked at the job description and decided that they hadn't got all of the qualifications that you were looking for. And I was like, but that's my decision to make. Don't take yourself out of the game because of fear or doubt. You don't know what necessarily someone is looking for. In my case, we have a really small team of women that work together. fit, personality, those things outweigh any skill set. And so don't take away opportunities from yourself. There are other people willing to do that for you. Yes. So don't let fear and doubt stop you, is what I would say. I think I've learned that.
That's the best advice I think anyone can hear and get from. If there is one thing that you can get out of this whole, day, don't doubt yourself. And like Gillian said, some other people are there to critique you and put you down. Don't do that to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but this is all amazing, and there's not enough time in the world to have both of you. You don't even know how I feel now. This hour went by really fast, and we only just touched on a small subject. You are a wealth of knowledge, both of you, and I am sure you are willing to help and give all this information just like you did now, and you give us your time and you came and talked to us and to our listeners. And I'm going to post your website, post information about you, and hopefully any woman out there, and it's just not just women. Our focus is empowering our young and older women, but this is also apply for men as well. Just find who you are. Try to become the better version of you. If you want to make a change in the world or change in your surrounding, your small world, start by doing it. Don't put obstacles in front of you. The world is already doing this in advance. So
exactly,
go for it. Try to reach out to Una, Gillian, to myself, and if you need advice, if you can't find what you're looking for on their website, I'm sure there is a contact me. You can email them, and if you don't mind to give out information and what you guys do to help other people. Again, if you can just summarize what you do at the end, that will be helpful. Start with you, Una.
Oh, sure. So if you reach out to the Leadership Harrisburg area website, you can find my contact information on there. I'm happy to share. Many of the Leadership Harrisburg area programs are open to the public. We put speaker panels together. We put speakers who have best practices and information to share, very much like this kind of a forum. One of our signature training programs is on servant leadership, and that's the brand of leadership that we teach, and that program is open to the public as well. So we would love to interact and engage, especially young women who want to go through our servant leadership course. It would be great for them to get it now at the early part of their career, and it will make a big difference for the rest of their career. And we have scholarships available too. So we don't want finances to be a barrier for anyone to participate. So we definitely will talk to people about scholarships as we have the capacity to do that.
Gillian?
Yeah, so, Girls on the Run offers after-school programs for girls in 3rd through 8th grade. They incorporate leadership and these social emotional skills that are going to build resilience and build confidence and lead to future success. We have a junior coach program, which is for volunteers who are at high school. And that's also a leadership program. It's really valuable sometimes for the high school girls to go through the program as a mentor to the girls in elementary school, because they're still experiencing many of the same issues that we address in our curriculum. And it can be a powerful reminder to them. And we're always looking for volunteers to serve as mentors to our groups of girls. There is a pretty robust training that our volunteers would go through. We're creating trauma-sensitive and healing-centered spaces, positive, inclusive environment, and we're non-competitive. We focus on progress and mastering the skills. And so while we use running as a tool to teach these skills, our volunteers don't need to be runners. They don't need to be athletic. What we're looking for are people who are dedicated, positive, and willing to be a role model to another girl. And the great thing is that we are in all 50 states across the US. So no matter where you are, where you're tuning in from, there's probably a chapter or a council near you, and you can reach out to them and find a way to get involved. There are other ways to get involved as well if you don't have the time commitment to become a coach. So I recommend just going to the website and finding your local council. So you can go to girlsontherun.org and put in your zip code, find your local council and reach out to them directly and see what they're looking for. But we appreciate that.
It is an honor, honestly, an honor to have both of you here and to give us the time. And I know you are busy and you're doing a lot of amazing work out there, but it is vital to our listeners and young women here in the area. And like you said, in all 50 states, we have people tuning in from different states to know that they are amazing people out there, are willing and putting the time to help to improve and better our society, and they're giving back. And having you here in Pennsylvania, it brings joy to my heart, honestly, to have both of you as amazing role model leader who are doing amazing stuff. And to have you with us today is an honor. Again, I cannot repeat this and say it enough. And hopefully we will be able to have you again soon, because this time is not enough to talk about everything.
Yeah.
And I know we don't have a magic wand to fix all the problems, but we can start by addressing it and doing our part. And if you want to make a change and have a better community and a better world, start by changing your surrounding, and you be the change that you want to see in the world. Una, Gillian, thank you very, very much from the bottom of my heart. And I appreciate you coming. And thank you everyone for watching and listening. And please go check their websites and volunteer and learn about what they can do to help you and what you can do to help them. Thank you.
Thank you, Hagir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.